I really like The Big Tall Wish. It's sentimental without being too sappy and shows off some fantastic performances, especially from the lead, Ivan Dixon. Outside of stories focused on race, it was rare to see an all-black cast on a TV episode in 1960, and that was something Rod Serling was very aware of. According to Mark Zickry's The Twilight Zone companion book, Serling was quoted at the time speaking of the need to highlight black performers. Quote, "Television, like its big sister, the motion picture, has been guilty of the sin of omission. Hungry for talent, desperate for the so-called new face, constantly searching for a transfusion of new blood, it has overlooked a source of wondrous talent that resides under its nose." End quote. So it's a trendsetter for that reason, but outside of that, it's a strong installment of the show and one of my favorites in the first season. I do think the ending message gets a little muddled, but it all depends on your point of view. We'll discuss that in a bit. An aging boxer named Boley Jackson is friends with a neighborhood boy named Henry and his mom, Frances. He has a big fight coming up that night as he's trying to make a comeback to prominence. Henry tells the boxer that he's going to make a big tall wish that he wins this fight. Later, when warming up in his locker room, Boley finds out that a member of his team, Thomas, has bet against him and refuses to disclose a scouting report on Jackson's opponent. Boley is furious and goes to punch Thomas, but breaks his hand on the wall instead. Because of that, the fight goes poorly and Jackson is knocked out early on. That is, until the impossible happens. Suddenly, Boley is the one standing, and his opponent lie defeated on the canvas. Boley is the only one who remembers breaking his hand and losing the fight. When he speaks to young Henry about this whole situation, Jackson is asked to believe in something that he can't wrap his head around. It can't be overstated how strong of a performance Ivan Dixon turned in as Boley Jackson. He's so believable in a type of role that has been done quite a bit in film and TV. The down-on-his-luck underdog fighter has pretty much become a trope at this point, but that formula, for whatever reason, often works, and since this is the Twilight Zone, we do get a bit of a magical angle on the story of that character archetype. However, Dixon keeps his side of things grounded, convincing, and sympathetic.
A fighter don't need a scrapbook, Henry. You read it in his face. He's got the whole story cut into his flesh.
Rod Serling was actually a boxer in the army, so I'm sure he connected to these fighting stories he wrote quite a bit. There's an authenticity to them that you can't fake, and when you combine his words with Dixon's interpretation of them, you get the perfect mix. What's also special about The Big Tall Wish is Boley's connection with the young Henry. Stephen Perry is pretty darn good as a kid who seems wise beyond his years while retaining the youthful outlook of a child.
You've been hurt enough already, and you're my friend, Boley. You're my good and close friend.
Talks like a little old man, you know. I'm his good and close friend. That's what he tells me.
Boley is obviously on his last legs as a fighter, as we're consistently told how old and broken down he is.
Tired old man trying to catch a bus, and the bus is already gone. Left a couple of years ago.
While this works fine, he's not exactly an old man. Ivan Dixon wasn't even 30 years old when they shot this episode. And yes, in boxing years, even your late 20s can be considered over the hill, but they all act like he's in his 50s or something. That may be because the role was meant for someone older. They actually replaced pro boxer Archie Moore with Dixon when Moore couldn't keep up with the pace of the production. I'm not exactly sure what that means, but that's all the info I could find about it. Moore was almost 15 years older than Dixon, which would have put him in his mid-40s, a much better fit physically for the part. Once Dixon replaced him, I wish they had simply adjusted a few lines. It wouldn't have taken much, but that really is a nitpick considering how high quality this episode is. Ivan Dixon would return for one more appearance in Season 5. Director Ron Winston was at the helm of 2 other Twilight Zone installments, including the heavily praised The Monsters Are Due on Maple Street. This one presented its own set of challenges. The boxing match is shown to us in a very clever way. Not able to show an arena full of people or make the call to use probably out-of-place stock footage, Winston made the smart decision to focus on the individuals in the audience. We see close-ups of their hands and some faces reacting to the fight. It turned out to be very effective. The action in the ring is short, but not too bad. I like some of the first-person views we see of Boley falling to the mat. They even have a shot of Dixon laying on a clear surface so the camera can be placed underneath him as the ref counts him out. As long as we're talking about the visuals, this shot of Henry watching the fight at home is a standout moment. At this point, Boley is about to lose the fight and Henry is desperate to see his friend get up and succeed. I love the light that TV casts and the reflection of Henry we see on the screen. Stephen Perry embodies the raw hopes of a child in that instant. Winston was said to be very good with sentimentality and not overdoing it. I think he did a great job of directing that balance with his actors and the tone of the overall piece. What helps guide our emotions in the background is a great score by Jerry Goldsmith. There's a particular focus on harmonicas in this installment, and they work well to convey the mood. The music doesn't take over the episode or become more memorable than the story we're watching, though. It just provides us with certain cues that enhance some of the scenes and performances. After the odd occurrence of Boley winning the fight when he remembers otherwise, he returns home to talk with Henry. Congratulations turn to confusion when Henry reluctantly seems to also remember Boley losing. The fighter pushes the boy on the issue.
I made the big wish then. I wish it was never knocked down. I wish real hard. It was magic, Boley.
Henry's wish coming true here was foreshadowed earlier in the episode by his mother. She mentioned a similar unlikely occurrence stemming from another one of her son's big tall wishes. But at this moment, Boley refuses to believe it. He thinks the boy needs to be given the hard truth about the real world.
Listen, kid, I've been wishing all my life. I got a gut ache from wishing, and all I got to show for it is a face full of scars. You trying to tell me you wished me into a knockout? You trying to tell me it was magic that made me get up off my back?
If you don't believe, Boley, it won't be true. That's the way magic works.
Their back and forth concerning the idealistic, faithful attitude of a child and the worn down but realistic outlook of an adult is heartbreaking to see from both sides.
I can't believe. I'm too old. And I'm too hurt to believe.
They cry together, trying to convince the other of their ideology when we fade back to the fight. Boley is back on the ground and is counted out, losing the bout. We see after that his hand is again broken as he takes a walk of shame this time back to his building. Once there, he shares another very sweet scene with Henry, but this time it's very different.
I ain't gonna make no more wishes, Boley. I'm too old for wishes.
Maybe there is magic, and maybe there's wishes too. I guess the trouble is there's not enough people around to believe.
Wishing for something hard enough until it comes true is what we saw happen in the 16mm shrine, but that was a very different story with a different moral. I personally connect with some of what this episode is saying much better. Rod Serling's ending narration is another great one. It's too long to play all the way through, so I'll read it for you. Mr. Boley Jackson, 183 pounds, who left a second chance lying in a heap on a rosin-splattered canvas at St. Nick's Arena. Mr. Boley Jackson, who shares the most common ailment of all men, the strange and perverse disinclination to believe in a miracle, the kind of miracle to come from the mind of a little boy. Honestly, I think that narration is a little too hard on our main character. In a lot of ways, Boley's right. You can't just generically wish something into existence, but that doesn't mean you have to be closed-minded to miracles. We have to work hard to make our dreams a reality, and it's a good lesson for little Henry to learn. The world's not fair, no matter how hard we wish it was. Bad things happen to good people, and we don't always get back what we put in. Conversely, we shouldn't be so world-weary that we close our eyes to the miracles that happen every day. It's a cliche, but it's true. The simple stuff is what we should cherish. We're here. We're alive. You're watching this video about an incredible show that we share a love for. It's something that's touched us in some way, and there's a joy in that we need to hold on to. Those are the aspects of life that we can't lose sight of. In some ways, it's similar to the faith of a child. It all comes down to perspective, which can be pretty easy to lose when things constantly don't go our way. Life takes more than it gives, but the fact that it happened in the first place is what we need to celebrate. Whether it be working hard to achieve a dream or a big tall wish, some things are universal, even in the Twilight Zone.